listening to The Millennials' Choice Show, Canada's most trusted podcast on all things real estate, finance, and entrepreneurship. Here's your host, Matthew Ablakan.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. This is Matthew from Millennials' Choice. We've got another episode for you guys in the house. I'm with my brother. You know who he is.
What's up, guys?
Needs no introduction. Mr. Hollywood, Mr. 305. You know, Hollywood is that way. 305 is Florida, but Miami. But you know what I mean. You guys get the drift. Today, guys, we want to talk about a topic that I feel like most people in our industry talk about from a perspective of like a really positive one, in terms of we've got so much immigrants coming every single year. And although that is the case, it's not necessarily always a positive one. And we're going to talk about why. We're going to look at a CTV News article where the headline says the government was warned 2 years ago. We're in 2024 now, 2 years ago, that immigration could affect housing costs. We have another article where then we transition to where it says Canada to reduce the number of international study permits by 35%. That's huge. So study permits will be down by a third going forward. And lastly, and I can't wait to get to this one because I am going to rip into these universities. This is the headline, okay? All three articles are from CTV News. This is the headline. It's simply at a breaking point. That's a quote. Universities warn of dark days ahead and call for end of tuition freeze. These guys are something, I will say. I can't wait to get to that point. Right now, we want to get into how the government was warned 2 years ago that high immigration could affect housing costs. And we want to jump right into that. Danny, our parents are immigrants. They came to the country in the 80s. They met here. They got married, started a life, got into the convenience store business. They had a location for 25 years. We had to go to school, pay for ourselves, do all that stuff. But they never made us, go to work to pay their bills. My first job, I was 14 years old. I worked, haven't stopped working, but we know that immigrant hustle, that immigrant mentality. Both of our parents were teachers back home. Their credentials weren't allowed to be transferred over. Danny, what are your thoughts on the immigration policies we have here?
Well, first off, I love immigrants. Like you just said, our parents are immigrants. We know a lot of immigrant families. This country, I think, is really built on immigrants. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the country that we have today, which we love so much. It's very important to have people coming into the country because they bring in a lot of different skill sets, right? You got engineers coming in, you got doctors, you got nurses, very important people that play really important roles in our society, right? And that's what creates a skilled labor force. You need that for a country. I think it's very essential. Going back to your point, there's also some cons that come with that, right? Higher housing costs, things like that. So in this article, one of the points that it made was the federal public servants warned the government 2 years ago about potential impacts of large increases in immigration on housing affordability and services. Now, for those of you listening, you might say, well, how does immigration affect housing, guys? How does it make it unaffordable for people? Well, we've talked about it before. Guess what? We're going to talk about it again because it never changes. Demand and supply. More people you have coming into the country, guys, the more demand you're going to need for housing. And as a result, housing is going to go up. Not just for people looking to purchase, we're also talking about rents here. So more people coming in, more people need housing. This is why Matthew always talks about how why he loves real estate so much. It's a utility asset. You do something with the real estate. You live in there. It's shelter. We will always need shelter. So keep that in mind. And as a result, like we said, more people coming in, higher costs when it comes to shelter.
Now, driving this point home, great points, by the way. Immigration will affect a lot of things. It'll put a strain on your healthcare system. It'll put a strain on other industries. However, those industries have to grow with the population. So if that means you need more hospitals, you got to build more. And there's just so much red tape here that honestly, sometimes it feels like it's insanity. Like, guys, we need to invest in our healthcare. We need to invest in our education system. We need to invest in these things. Plain and simple. They're the fabric of our society, right? But this is the real estate show. we talk about finance, entrepreneurship, real estate, right? And I just want to give you some quotes because the important thing here, staying on topic, is that our government knew about this. They were warned, but really there wasn't any kind of proactive, solutions being put forth in an effort to combat the demand for housing from these immigrants that are coming in, and rightfully so. They need a place to live. So documents obtained by the Canadian press through an access to information request show Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada analyzed the potential effects immigration would have on the economy, housing, and services as it prepared its immigration targets for 2023 to 2025. So we're in the middle of this right now.
Yeah.
So the deputy minister, among others, was warned in 2022 that housing construction, guys, I've said this 1,000,001 times on all of our other episodes, that housing construction had not kept up with the pace of population growth. This is super important when it comes to demand and supply, and then the ripple effect of pricing and things like that. Quote, in Canada, population growth has exceeded the growth in available housing units, end quote. One slide deck read. Another quote, as the federal authority charged with managing immigration, IRCC policymakers must understand the misalignment between population growth and housing supply and how permanent and temporary immigration shapes population growth, end quote. Immigration accounts for nearly all population growth in Canada, given the country's aging demographics. What's that telling you? There's a lot more people getting older and dying, the baby boomer generation. The millennials and Gen Zs are not producing fast enough, especially in North America. Side note, especially when you're killing babies, just putting that out there. And then you have one other solution where it's bring people into the country. So you need immigrants. You absolutely need them. You can't say we don't want immigrants. We don't need immigrants. You need immigrants. Without immigrants, this economy collapses. So you definitely need them. There's a whole nother conversation we're not going to get into about which immigrants to bring in, from where, what are they qualified to do? Are they skilled or unskilled? That's a whole separate topic we're not going to get into. Point is that there's a lot of evidence here from third-party organizations that have clearly stated we're going to have a housing issue and a housing crisis with the mass number of immigrants flowing into the country. So, in every crisis, there is a
opportunity.
Say it with confidence.
Opportunity.
And what that opportunity is really right now, especially with you guys that are kind of sidelined or you're waiting to see what happens, your foot's not in the door, you haven't jumped into the market, guys, while the rates are high and you're able to get in with little competition in most markets, this is where you do it. If you have to get a longer closing date, get a 120-day closing date, negotiate that. So that way you spend a third of the year just waiting while you've tied up a deal. Hopefully by then things will get better, because it seems like the talks are, if you check out our episode we dropped on the Bank of Canada announcement that happened in the end of January, that rates are starting to go down. Okay? They're going to start to go down. So you could take advantage of this crisis, because a lot of the newcomers that come here, normally they become renters immediately. They want to get accustomed to the land. They want to get accustomed to the culture. They want to get settled in. They want to find jobs. They want to make sure, is this where they want to be? They don't have to stay here. There's a lot of immigrants that leave once they come here and they see how it is and they don't like it. That's their choice. That's their right to do so. So you can provide that kind of rental housing that is so in demand. And the proof I'm going to give you, okay? Follow the
money.
Follow the money. Where's the money right now? The federal government is putting billions of dollars out there as incentives for developers to create affordable rental housing. Okay? That's where the money is. The government's putting it out there. What is that telling you? They're preparing for a lot of this stuff. Maybe they're preparing a little bit too late. Maybe they, didn't really understand how it was gonna play out, or whatever the case may be. Point is, they're throwing money at this beast of a rental market. You don't need to go build 100 units or 200 units. Just get a little bit of the crumbs. get a little bit of the crumbs, build a little investment portfolio in a good market where the rents are high. There's projections for the rents to appreciate in the future. And if you're buying pre-construction, now all the buildings that are constructed after November 15, 2018 don't have rent control. Every year, the rents could go up by whatever you want to raise them by. So there are opportunities in every crisis. Take advantage of those. Thoughts?
I want to touch on a point that you mentioned that I thought was interesting. You know, there's immigrants that are leaving Canada as well too. It might be due to the fact where there's a lot of pressure on our systems, on our healthcare system, on our education system, and it might not be what they expected, you know, the immigrants coming in, and as a result, they're leaving. So do you think there's a possibility where there's so many immigrants leaving Canada, leaving Ontario, that it can actually hurt the housing market in terms of, you know, lower the demand for housing, lower the demand for rentals, and as a result, we have more of a equilibrium in terms of price where the supply does actually meet the demand. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
No, only because what they did, I think in anticipation of this, is check this out. Check what this article says. The federal government ultimately, after all these studies and these warnings and this information, they ultimately decided to increase the number of permanent residents Canada welcomes each year to 500,000 in 2025. A decision that drew considerable attention and scrutiny. What this means is that Canada will welcome nearly twice as many permanent residents as it did in 2015. So if we look at what happened in the third quarter of 2023, Canada's population grew by 430,000, marking the fastest pace of population growth in any quarter since 1957. So what I'm saying to answer your question is that I think they're aware of this. There's a turnover rate where a lot of people are leaving, but instead they're saying, okay, we'll bring more than we've brought in the past to circumvent that.
And you think that's going to solve their problem of people leaving?
Well, no. I mean, people leaving for various reasons. I mean, those reasons need to be addressed, should be addressed. There should be a country that not only welcomes people, but creates an environment where people want to stay, succeed, thrive, build. But that's a whole separate topic. My point is, to answer your question about will that hurt the market? Well, here's the thing. If they're leaving and they're bringing in twice as many people, that's going to combat the amount of people leaving.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make the issue worse, not from a perspective of people leaving, but from a perspective of housing affordability and the pressure on some of the services like healthcare.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I definitely think that we're always going to have the problem of, you know, so much overwhelming demand and very little supply, just because in general, you know, there's always a scarcity of resources, right? There's always, you know, shortages on raw material, you know, things that we need to build homes and things like that. So especially when there's, you know, so much cost of, you know, goods going up, it is more expensive to build. And as a result, it might not make sense for a lot of builders to, you know, build at certain moments in the market, like we talked about in another episode, where a lot of the builders these past couple of years just kind of sat tight and said, you know what, we're not going to launch a new project right now because it doesn't make sense. There's not a lot of demand. A lot of people have been sidelined because of the rates. So I definitely do think that that's always going to be an issue. And that's why, you know, I strongly believe in the message of get in the market, get into the real estate market, even if you don't want to live, you know, out west, out north, you know, east. It's okay. You don't have to live there. You rent it out to someone who does. And you just collect the checks. And when the rates are the rates at that time, it's okay. You're not going to have that rate forever if it's a really high interest rate. If you can afford to keep it and hold it, keep it and hold it. And then as we say, real estate over long term will always outpace, you know, the market and whatnot. You'll always make a return on your money. And that's your retirement right there. I personally don't believe in depending on the government for OAS and CPP. That's not going to do anything for you. You know, you're not going to retire off of that. Let's be real.
Just go on the government's website and see what CPP gives you, how much you get. It's not going to be sustainable. I decided at a young age, when I bought my first condo, pre-construction, 19 years age, I said, I'm going to build my own retirement. That was the plan. That is the plan, right?
That's a huge mindset to have at that age.
Yeah, but we had no choice, Danny.
No,
our
for
parents,
sure.
our parents don't come from money. Our parents need money. Our parents, so we had like my back was against the wall, especially older brother. It is a different
For
dynamic.
sure.
Let's be real.
No, it is.
But you're in the same situation. So let me read to you guys. Listen, this is a big episode. Like I want you to take this in. Even the Bank of Canada's deputy governor has chimed in on this matter. They, from their own words, Tony Gravel, said in December that strong population growth is pushing rents and home prices upwards. This is in December of 2023, at the height of the market in terms of interest rates being the highest they've ever been. They are saying that this is pushing rents and home prices upwards. Okay? Guess what the Liberal government's immigration policy has now done? The immigration policy, because they took a little bit of scrutiny saying, hey, where are you going to put all these people? They said, okay, in 2026, we're going to level it out. We're not going to increase the number of new immigrants. We're going to level it out to another 500,000 in 2026. Guys, that means in 2025 and 2026, you have 1 million new people coming to Canada. That's big.
Yeah.
That's big. They want to build 1 million homes by 2030. You have 1 million people coming in 2 years. I don't know what's going to happen in the market. God willing, everything remains equal and, there's no kind of evil mischief behind the scenes and you could still run your household and run your business the way you should be running it. Chances are property prices are going to skyrocket because, again, there's going to be so much demand and even rents are going to skyrocket. We will see that happen. That's happening, but we will see that happen on a whole new level. By the way, in England, just travel outside of Canada. In England, there's no home ownership dream. People don't dream of home ownership. They rent. That's normal for them. Are Canada and the U.S. becoming a renter's nation? I feel like yes. I feel like we're headed in that direction.
I think we're definitely heading in that direction when it comes to especially talking about immigration and the amount of people coming in. Like you just said, that's crazy. They're going to bring in 1 million people in 2025, 2026.
Yep.
But their goal is to build 1 million houses by 2030. Even though right now, I think they're making 30,000 new houses a year, something like that. If that. So that's that. Those numbers for me, all it equals to is increase in pricing for rent and for homeowners.
And remember, these are permanent residents, so they could buy real estate. They're not banned by the foreign buyers ban. Number one. Number two, there's a book that you guys should read. It's called Acres of Diamonds. It's a really short book. And it just talks about how this one guy sold everything, left his family behind to go and search for diamonds. There was this diamond rush that was taking place. Long story short, he never found the diamonds and then he killed himself. Sorry for the negativity, but that's what he did. I think it's just it's just a example. It wasn't a real story, but it's just a story, right? And then the person who bought his farm actually found diamonds on his farm. And it was one of the largest diamond mines that ever came into existence. And so the idea is you are on your own acres of diamonds now. What is that? Your skills, your ability, and perhaps where you live. And we live in Ontario. Why I share this example with you is that you are in Ontario. This is one of the best provinces to be in Canada, with major cities like Toronto in Ontario. Most of these immigrants will come to the province of Ontario. That's just how it plays out. So at the end of the day, you're sitting on your own acres of diamonds. What are you going to do with it? The opportunity's there. Are you going to listen to the realtor twiddling their thumbs, the mortgage agent twiddling their thumbs, hoping and praying that the market's going to get better? Or are you going to create a strategy that says, I'm going to be in this thing for 5, 10, maybe 20 years. Maybe one day I'll create a legacy and pass this down to my children. Are you going to do something like that and take advantage of the opportunities within these crises that we are hearing about? Choice is yours.
Guys, real estate is a long-term game. All those people that would go and buy properties and flip them within a month or two, I personally think there's not much opportunities like that out there anymore with what's happening in our society, in our world. Costs of things are all expensive, costs to sell these kind of things. Mortgage rates are really high. keep it long term. That should be the plan. Or if you are planning on, doing a reno and flipping it, or flipping it within a few months of buying it, just don't make that your end all be all. If that's your plan A, have a plan B, and then have a plan C, because things don't always go the way we want them to go, right? So keep that in mind when you're investing in real estate. Don't try to go for the quick money. This ain't crypto. You're not gonna 1,000x your money in a week or two, depending on what happens. But keep it long term, and then you'll always come out ahead. Definitely.
So now, leading into the next article, this was something that they were exploring, the current federal government, where they wanted to put caps or kind of close off some of the gray areas with the student visas. And so they just recently announced that they are going to be limiting Canada to reduce the number of international study permits by 35%. Okay, so what this means is that the cap, for example, is expected to result in 364,000 new approved permits in 2024, and the 2025 limit will be reassessed. This is basically a drop by 1/3 of the previous, student visas that were issued. Look, we need to make sure the people coming into the country, number one, are going to succeed here and are good for the country. And number two, we need to make sure they're coming on merits that don't just allow them to come in because they enroll, in a program at one of our local colleges that, is not really going to contribute to society. And we see that the proof is in the pudding. Wait till we get to the third article today. Enrollments are down. Student debt is at an all-time high. Students don't have jobs after graduating university. Where's the value in it? So we need these students that are coming saying, hey, I'm here to study to become a lawyer. I'm here to study to become a doctor. I'm here to study to become a teacher, to become an engineer, to become, somebody, a scientist, a researcher, whatever. I'm not coming here to enroll in one course. I don't know if they could do that, enroll in one course, but just as an example, enroll in a course where, I'm just going to learn about sociology. Like, it's not going to go anywhere for you. That person's going to be really dependent on the country afterwards. And that's a big problem for taxpayers and for Canadians as a whole. There has to be that balance, and it's kind of common sense. You can't just bring in people for the sake of bringing them in. You have to bring in qualified individuals. As an example, if I want to go to America right now, if I want to be a permanent resident in America, they don't just welcome me with open arms. Come here and enroll in one of our schools and we'll give it to you. No, it's a rigorous process, and it takes several years to get a PR in America. And that goes for other parts of the world. We are one of the most laxed places where people can come here.
So go ahead. Finish the thought.
I'm just saying, and back to our earlier point, we need the immigrants.
Yeah.
I get it. We need the immigrants. I'm just saying that you need to close the loopholes. You need to bring qualified people in, and you can't just have people that may have criminal backgrounds in where they're coming from, but because they could enroll in some sort of program because the universities are in on this and they want more and more people, because why? They charge international students way more money in tuition than they do local students, right? They're in on this. So they're allowing this to happen and take place, but someone can enroll in this program and come in, and meanwhile, their own country didn't want them. We can't allow that.
That doesn't make sense. No. Yeah, and I agree with you about what you said about, not just bringing in any student, for example, that's going to, drain resources, right? But at the same time is going to, add value, right? We need people to add value to the country, not to be kind of like a burden on the system itself, because once you have a lot of that, then the system's not going to survive, right? It's going to eventually waste away. And then as a result, we're the ones paying for it, the people, the long-term residents that have been here putting money into the system, right? Our healthcare, education, whatever it is. So I definitely agree. You got to have some people that have skills or that are anticipating to have skills or are learning to have skills. If they're going to be in the trades or things like that, there's a huge void of, people that are needed in trades, right?
Yeah.
You could probably speak to this because you speak to a lot of developers. Developers need people that are in the trades. They're hard to come by. It's not easy to go and find trades groups to come and work for you, right? So they're
Well, you hear what the Premier of Ontario is saying, that they're going to pay the tuition for anyone that wants to go become an electrician.
exactly.
That's big, guys. Take opportunities of that. If you're young, how many electricians do I know that are clients of ours that buy more than one property?
Yeah.
There's this sentiment with some people here in Canada where it's like, all hardworking electricians can't buy a house. Someone said this recently on one of these like media outlets on Instagram. I'm like, what are you talking about? I know electricians that own 2 properties, 3 properties. What are you talking about? And they're able to buy another one. They're just kind of waiting and assessing their situation.
Yeah.
So you can make it anywhere doing anything. Just have a plan. It's not that hard. It's what Jim Rohn said is easy to do. It's also easy not to do it. You become lazy. You let time go by. You get discouraged. I was working with these buyers a few years ago, and I went to school with one of them, and the partner was in the picture now. And oh my goodness, they wouldn't even pull the trigger on stuff for like $500K, $600K in Woodbridge at the time when I was working on it. Those same properties are about $900K now. And I remember I got a phone call years later. They never bought anything, not even from someone else. They just never bought. Obviously, we stopped doing showings. I wasn't going to show them 100 properties that they were going to say no on because they were scared. The guy called me recently out of the blue. Oh, do you know this is? Of course I know. I have your number saved. The guy calls me. Oh, it's easy for you to say. You have all these connections. You have all this money. You have all this stuff. And I'm just like, buddy, if you're going to come at me with that mindset, you're not the right client for us. As bad as that sounds, you're not. Number one. Number two, you don't know anything about us. We had no connections. We're building, grinding. The reason we charge what we charge, that we do what we do, is we're spending time away from our families, networking, getting in big rooms with big people, and growing our brand. So we create a game plan for that, for our business and for our lives and for our investments. You need to do the same thing. And you need to get around people like us, plain and simple. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it is what it is. You have to get around people like us and create a game plan. And if you're immigrants coming to the country and the people of this country are not taking advantage of the opportunities within the crisis, then you take advantage of it.
That's it.
You as an immigrant take advantage of it. And one guy said us something that was a little bit racist, I think at least. He's like, older realtor, experienced, European. And I said, what do you think happens? You've seen these markets somewhat play out in the past. He's like, the white man is going to lose their house to the brown man. And what he meant was the culture we have here where people that are kind of born and raised here, everyone wants their own house. Everyone wants their own life. Everyone wants to, what's that thing? Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
They want that kind of, they have that mentality, that lifestyle. He's like, but the immigrants that are coming in, a lot of them culturally, they're used to living in the same house. 3 families, 2 families, living in the same house. They're going to be the ones that are going to be able to afford, with multiple income streams, the property.
That actually makes sense.
Make co-housing.
Because they work as
Yeah.
collectives, right? They see it
yeah.
more as like a complete whole family.
And that for them, they're already living like that.
Yeah.
So that's normal for them coming here, right? Even in our culture, a lot of people do that. The new age, us, maybe not. We want our privacy. We're doing other things. We don't want to have our parents, in the same house. But some cultures, they do that. And they do that more often than not. So it's normal for them. And just keep that in mind. If you're listening to this, like when I go into these condo buildings, I talk to the securities and stuff, and they're from certain backgrounds most of the time. And they're hungry. They want to buy. They're working hard. They just don't know how to navigate it. Every single time that I do that, where I talk to some of them, they go, can I get your card?
Yeah.
What's the name of your podcast? Because I'm giving them valuable information. And I understand the struggle because our parents were immigrants. So I get the hustle mentality. They want to get ahead. They want to build a life. Meanwhile, you got people here that were spoon-fed by mommy and daddy. They're getting borrowed down payments from their parents, which is nothing wrong with that. I pray one day I'm able to do that for my kids. All that stuff. But meanwhile, they're sitting at home and they're very comfortable and they don't want to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know?
They're getting sucked into TikTok.
They want to watch Pornhub and smoke weed all day. That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
You can't do that, guys. You have to have a plan. You have to contribute to your society. And trust me, I don't say that to be hurtful. I don't say that to be rude or anything like that. Far be it. Like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to put anyone down. But I've spoken to people like that. There are people born in this country, the freedom of this country that it offers you. And we are very socialist, but we're still very free. And they have told me they would welcome a communist government. People born here, millennials, they would welcome a communist government, and they would be so happy if the government provided them with housing. And meanwhile, these are the same people that are smoking weed every day, that have parents that could help them, great upbringing, they were born and raised here, all the opportunities that anyone has here. And meanwhile, they would welcome a communist government. Why? One word, bro. They're lazy. They're lazy. They don't want to work for it.
Yeah.
They don't want to work for it. It's that simple. So instead, they get drugged out. They have this false reality in their heads, and they're not taking advantage of the opportunities. Guess what? The immigrants that are going to come here, who are living in third world countries, that want to come here for the opportunity that you're throwing away, they are going to take advantage of it, and you're going to rent from them one day. You will be their tenants. You will be their tenants. That's what's going to happen, ultimately.
Yeah. A lot of these immigrants coming in, like you said, they work hard, man. They're working hard. They want it. They're hungry. They're going to school. They're getting educated. They're becoming doctors, lawyers, earning that big income. And even if you're in the trades, they're doing, like, people in the trades are amazing. Going back to what you were talking about before, not sure why growing up, I don't know, there was this like stigma about, oh, like you can't go to college and stuff. Like that's really bad. You know,
or
like,
construction.
Like they go, don't go do that. We know people, the people that we know that are in the trades make more money than a lot of the people that went to university and graduated and went and got a degree and, I don't know, like this guy was saying, sociology, all this other stuff. There's people that work in the trades that make a lot of money, but they work really hard at the same time too. Yeah, not discounting their work. They actually work really hard.
But anyone who makes money works really hard.
Oh, for sure.
If someone's making it with dishonest gains and means, they'll lose it just as fast.
Yeah, that's a different story. Exactly.
We work extremely hard. You know, it doesn't mean we're lifting stones and bricks, but we work extremely hard. You know, when people come home from work, they work hard during their 9 to 5, but then they come home and they're dealing with us. We have to accommodate. We've been working 9 to 5. Now we have to accommodate 5 to 9 because that's when they get home and they could actually talk about their property or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, definitely.
We work really hard, harder than most. So, man, people are going to come and take your food off your plate. You don't want that to happen. You know, you don't want that to happen. So, did you want to, I interrupted your point. You want to finish your point?
That was good. That was good. It's kind of a perfect segue to go into the next next article.
You want to read the headline?
Yeah. The next article reads, "It's simply at a breaking point," end quote. "Universities warn of dark days ahead and call for end of tuition freeze." So let's talk about this, guys, because, you know, we were just talking about, you know, post-secondary universities, things like that, you know, and people going and, you know, doing certain programs for certain reasons. You know, you got the immigration or the students on Canadian visas coming here, student visas, coming to universities and, you know, spending a lot of money. I think the number is like 2 to 3x normal tuition fees that we pay.
Extremely
it's
high.
like ridiculously high for no reason from what I understand. But let's get into the article. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So the University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University are both projecting multi-million-dollar losses over 2023 and 2024. The University of Waterloo estimates it will lose 15 million, while Wilfrid Laurier was projecting 11 million. At the end of the day, guys, and let me read you a quote and let me jump in. Universities across Ontario right now are going through a real challenge. There's a real financial struggle, and I think it's going to have an impact on the students, said Lloyd Norona, Vice President of Finance and Administration at Wilfrid Laurier University. This person goes on to say the main issue is restrictive policy from the provincial government that makes it difficult to increase revenue. We saw a 10% reduction in tuition back in 2019, and it's been frozen since. On top of that, grants that the provincial government provides universities, those have also been frozen. Guys, this person is full of shit. Okay? I'm just going to put it out there. All right, Lloyd? The reason universities are losing money, and I don't even know if that's true, by the way. They could say whatever it is. They can cry about the grants have been frozen. That's taxpayer money anyway. They can say whatever they want. You are losing your value when it comes to post-secondary education. What I mean by that is people are waking up saying, look at all this student debt that this generation before us is in the trillions, billions, if not trillions, I believe. They are in so much student debt that they can't even find a job. They can't get out of their student debt. They can't move on with their lives. Why would we go to school? Why would we go to school? Like, if you want to go to school because you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher, whatever, that's one thing. It's specialized training. Most people are waking up and saying, I'm not going to go get a 3-year bachelor degree in sociology. Who gives a shit? It's not a prerequisite for any job, for any career. So why would I do that? And instead, this person is blaming the government that's currently in place for their decline in tuition because of tuition freezes. These universities are the same universities that do not care about you because they are pushing policymakers to bring in more international students so they could charge ridiculous fees. These are the same universities that during the pandemic, they charge the same tuition, if not more, while the universities were shut down and they were doing virtual learning. They are the same universities that are lobbying for all of your, these taxpayer dollars to come to them to charge international students that are coming here to start a better life for them and their families, charging them ridiculous amounts of money for the same exact education they'll offer local natives, people from Canada that are going to go there. How is that fair? And then you want to complain that you're going to lose $11 million. I don't see any of the professors lining up saying, I'll take a tuition, cut, or some of these people that are in these offices of the university saying, maybe we'll have to not take a bonus this year or do this. No, instead, let's take taxpayers. Let's file a complaint and keep pressing against the conservative government that's in the province and squeeze as much taxpayer dollars as we can to provide something that's providing such little value, if not any value, to our society. Full disclosure, I have 2 university degrees. I have an honors degree in law and society from York University, and I did that concurrently with my bachelor's of education. I am able to be a high school teacher. I have my teachables. I finished. I did 5 years of that. I graduated with honors. There is so much benefit to the degrees that I have, but most people are not in that position. So I think this person's full of shit. I think these universities are full of shit. I think if you're listening to this and you have a good head on your shoulders, I think you need to get specialized. That doesn't mean I'm saying don't go to university. I'm just saying that if you're going to go with purpose, have a plan. Don't go undecided. I couldn't stand people that went to university with an undecided major. So why are you going? I want to test things out, see things. Usually those people either drop out or stay in university for so long that they just miss all the opportunities that go by them. They miss them. I don't know. That was a rant. I apologize, but that's what I truly believe.
You're what's wrong with this country is what I would say to this guy. If I was in the room with him and I heard him say this, I'd say, you're what's wrong with this country. The reason why I say that is because I had a huge mindset shift when I went into university and experienced the life. I realized it's a business. They want your money. They don't care about your education. They want your money. It's a business, guys. As soon as I realized that, I said, wow, I wish I knew that before. Not saying I wouldn't go to university because I learned a lot of life lessons when I was in university. The material, I think, is garbage, depending on what you're going there for. Like Matthew just said, if you're going there to specialize in something, that's a different story because you need that certain knowledge and education. But to all the people that, think, oh, I have to go to university to be successful. I have to go to university to be educated. I have to go to university to be smart and do well in life. Sorry, you've been fed a lot of what in your life by someone. It's a lie. And so what I'm going to tell anybody listening to this right now is you have to realize it's a business. This is the thing that changed my perspective. And once you start to realize that, it's actually very freeing. You don't have to go to university to be successful. I think a lot of what was happening before, the boom in technology in the past few years was a lot of these big corporate jobs were just hiring people that, they had to have degree, credentialism. They have to have a degree. What school did you go to? Guys, it got flipped upside on its head. The reason why I know that is because AI right now is shaking up the industry in business and everything. And if you're somebody that doesn't have a degree, but you're really good at, coding, you're really good with AI, guess what? You're going to get the job over somebody that knows nothing about AI or coding, but has a university degree in, like Matthew was saying, sociology. They're not going to care about that degree. That doesn't mean nothing to them.
It means nothing.
It means nothing. You know what they want to know? Can you make us money? Can you bring value to our company?
Exactly.
And guess what? You having the skills to, lead in your field, whether it's AI, whether it's any other type of technology, they're going to look at you. Are you a people's person? Are you good at communicating? Are you a good communicator? They're going to look at you and say, we want that person. We don't care if he didn't go to university. He's going to bring more value, or she's going to bring more value than any of the other people that went to university can.
Just listen to this. Just on the point of that universities are a business. This is somebody who's the president of Higher Education Strategy Associates. He says that many universities, if there's no changes made, are going to be forced to make further cuts. And he's saying that he doesn't think schools will shut down, thank the Lord, but the overall quality of the education will suffer. So who's it going to affect? All these, not the people at the top, okay, but the students that are paying these crazy fees. So you're talking to now people that are looking at you as a transaction. It's a business. And what he goes on to quote, he says, governments have given institutions a choice between international students or nothing. And those who don't get enough international students are in trouble right now. What? Let's milk the international students that are coming here. Let's grab whatever we can grab from them so that we can stay in power and stay in business. How is that ethically right? How is that ethical? How is that morally right? Like, these are people that are coming to the country to start a better life for themselves. And you're going to keep them down in poverty, in debt, bad debt, because of your own books, and you want to balance your budget or make money and your bottom line? Come on. From that perspective alone, people should be on the streets from both sides of the government protesting against these universities. Protesting against these universities. You are literally milking immigrants. That is like beyond, like, that really pisses me off. Because I know when my parents came here, bro, they had nothing. And people tried to take advantage of them. That's what always happens. Even with the bad brokers in certain areas that you've heard about on the news networks, where they take advantage of people and put them in bad mortgages and bad loans, and they're all in on it, the realtor, the mortgage agent, the lawyer. Those are the scum of our society. And they're taking advantage of their own people and immigrants that are coming here for a better life. That's something that really pisses me off. And when you have this person saying, back to the negotiation part, the business part of this, the government's telling us it's either this or nothing. And we're telling you that if something doesn't change, it's going to affect the education of those people. What? What? How does that even make sense? That's equivalent to price gouging in grocery stores. It's equivalent to that because it's a demand and supply issue. Well, if we don't have enough supply of students, we don't care where you're going to house them. We don't care about that. We don't care that it affects your healthcare system. We don't care if we as a university are not making money that we say we need to make this much. These are our targets. We don't care. We're going to impact the level of education that students receive. Guys, everyone should be pissed off about this.
Run away.
Everyone should be pissed off about this.
Run away.
They are creating so many problems because these are powerful entities that lobby governments and they try to change policy. And they are lobbying the governments for all these students, for all this stuff, these international students that are coming now. So because they know they can charge a lot more. Instead of looking in the mirror and saying, where are we failing? Why are we not bringing more value to society? Why are so many of our students graduating with such high student debts? Okay. And I think I said trillions in the earlier, I think it's billions, but billions of dollars of student debt. Why is this the case in North America? Why is this happening? Why are they not able to secure a job in their field? Why are they not able to start their careers or when they graduate or when they're in university? Why are so many of them enrolling and not showing up to classes? It's what we talk about bringing value. And these universities have lost their touch. They've lost their touch. They've gone on one side of the extreme. It's all about profit. It's interesting that most universities are liberal in their doctrine and nature. Not that there's anything bad between liberal or conservatives. It's not political here, but it's interesting that they approach it that way, but yet fundamentally they're capitalist and they are just trying to milk the system. I find that very, very interesting. The same students fighting for a lot of the social causes and changes in universities should be standing up against this. They should be standing up against the milking of the immigrants, against the high tuition costs for the immigrants, and those same people that are then fighting for changes in climate and changes in the housing market and the housing crises, which these universities are playing a big role in, should be fighting against the universities who are not doing anything to help solve some of those issues. That's just my take.
I agree with all that. And, a lot of the people at the top, like you're saying, they position themselves, in a way where it benefits them, right? So, when it's good to make money, they're going to be capitalists. When they want to seem like, they're lobbying the government for the rights and freedoms for certain people, for immigrants, it's not for the immigrants. They could care less, in my opinion. I think they care about their bottom dollar, their bottom line. And that honestly does sicken me as well, too, coming from an immigrant family. So it's one of those things where the good news is a lot of people, I think, are waking up to this, though. I think a lot of people are waking up to it and are saying, you know what? I don't really need to go to university anymore.
No.
It doesn't make sense for me to go. Why would I go and get into debt? What's the benefit? What's the value? And like you were saying, what is the value? Unless you're going in there for a specific reason, you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, and you need to get educated in those fields because they're very specialized, makes sense. Beyond that, just to go there because you don't know what to do, I think you should just go to a sales job and actually get some real life experience. Not necessarily a sales job, but any job, and get any life experience communicating with people, as opposed to going and, studying for only 2 exams that make up your grade. How does that really test your knowledge, right? And what you learned? It really doesn't. I think the reason why they do that is because if you bomb one of those, you pretty much fail the course and you got to retake the course and you're paying another $2,000. It's all a business. They've structured it that way for a reason. And so it's one of those things where, listen, a lot of people are waking up to it. I'm happy personally to see that people are waking up to it. And you don't need a university education to be successful at all. Things have changed. The game has changed. And it's no longer go get a degree and get that corporate job. A lot of times now you don't even need a degree anymore. You just need good people skills. So I'm happy about that.
Darren Hardy said a long time ago, he said, emotional intelligence is going to be the key into the future. You see what's going on right now. A lot of people react out of emotion. There's so many things wrong with society, but yet you can't be biased. You can't say, like, people that are on that side of the spectrum will never come out against these universities and say, you're part of the problem. Yeah, you align with my values, but you're part of the problem. They won't call them out on it. It takes both sides to fix it. And both sides of the equation need to call out people on their own side when something is not right. That's what needs to happen.
For sure.
It's not about you have to choose one side. It's black and white. No, it's about coming together collectively and saying what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Plain and simple. This is wrong. This is wrong. It's completely wrong. And if the universities are not bringing enough value where they have to shut down, then shut down. I'm all for that. Then shut down. They're not bringing value. What's the point?
What's the point of them? Yeah.
All the land they're sitting on, build properties on them. Build housing. You'll see a lot of universities do that to pay the bills. And they're going to milk it even then. Have you ever seen how long it takes to go get a dorm? There's waiting lists.
Yeah.
there's waiting lists. They do that on purpose. They control the supply so that they can charge more.
Yep.
I think that's the end of this conversation. I think we went down a certain rabbit hole that just really pisses me off. You want to add anything to the end while we close off the show?
No, that's it, guys. If you enjoy the show, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, download the episode, share it with a friend or family member that you think can benefit from this. If you know somebody that, is in their late teens and early 20s that doesn't really know what they want to do and get into, definitely send them this video. It's one of those things, again, we're not anti anything. We just call it like it is. We both are university graduates, but again, make it make sense, right? Where's the value? Ask yourself that, right? What kind of mindset are you working with right now? And what kind of mindset surround you, right? And make sure to, again, follow us on Instagram, Danny Ablakan, Matthew Ablakan, Millennials Choice. And if you haven't already reached out to us, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're always here to help.
And there's an opportunity in every crisis. Remember that. Go with that mentality. Go forward with that mentality. You'll be just fine.
All right, guys. Thanks again for watching it. We're out.